Hi, thank you for joining us. We are excited to be celebrating the 25th anniversary of Artclectic and to promote our partnership with the local nonprofit organization, Poverty in the Arts, also known as POVA. This noble organization provides resources to people who've been impacted by homelessness so that they can create, market, and sell their artwork to improve their living situation. POVA will be curating a space at Artclectic, and their artist works will be available to all of our patrons. Also, we're hosting a school-wide art drive for supplies and donations to benefit the artists of POVA. Students and families are encouraged to donate art supplies, funds, or purchase items from an Amazon wish list. Today, we have Nicole Minyard and Emily Wertheim from POVA to speak about the organization and how it helps artists transition out of homelessness. This is a pre-recorded presentation. Thank you for being here and please enjoy our webinar.
Hello, and thank you so much for inviting us to share about our mission and for the opportunity for our artists to exhibit and sell their work during this year's Artclectic. I am Nicole Brent Minyard. I'm the founder and executive director of Poverty in the Arts.
And my name is Emily Wertheim. I'm the director of programs for POVA. I started working for POVA in 2019 as the program coordinator, and I was recently promoted to director of programs. I have a master's degree in counseling and art therapy, which I use every day to inform my work at POVA. My role is to guide the strategic and long-term programming efforts at POVA. I'm responsible for the management of our artwork for sale, as well as community-facing efforts like exhibitions, workshops, and income opportunities for our artists. You'll also see on screen our newest staff member. Her name is Ashley Roten. She's our artist manager, and she is responsible for all artist communications. Among other things, she coordinates artist studio time and offers individual coaching sessions to ensure that all of our artists are being supported in their artistic and entrepreneurship efforts. And now Nicole's going to share a little bit about her background with POVA.
So you can see our mission is to provide people impacted by homelessness access to creative resources and an artistic platform to enhance their quality of life and increase their economic mobility. And our vision is to create artistic and economic opportunities for those who have been denied them and to advance new models of economic justice and community that are sustainable and replicable. We also work to highlight the creative talents of people impacted by homelessness in order to broaden perspectives and foster meaningful and equitable relationships across communities. So growing up from a small town in Kentucky, the narratives told to me about homelessness were pretty stereotypical. Lazy, drug addicts, people who just don't want to work. And sometimes when I volunteered with my church or school growing up, those opportunities tended to reinforce those stereotypes. When serving at a soup kitchen, we weren't always encouraged to sit, talk, or share a meal with people, but rather serve at a distance. This distance didn't allow me to listen, learn, and empathize with the context of their situations or the trauma that they had experienced. This experience reminded me of this quote: "If there is no friendship with the poor and no sharing of life with the poor, then there is no authentic commitment to liberation, because love only exists among equals." In 2009, during my senior year of high school, I got connected with an adult from church who would visit homeless campsites in Louisville, Kentucky. We might bring socks, food, or coffee, but ultimately we just spent the day with them. It was an opportunity where I was invited into their space and home as their guest, and it flipped the power dynamics that I typically experience when I went to serve them in a soup kitchen. Through that experience, I learned that they weren't lazy or morally irresponsible. They were creative and resourceful, but victims of systematic and policy level barriers. I moved to Nashville in 2010 to Belmont University. There's me, freshman year of college. And I got a work-study job for the Center of Service Learning. My job was to plan community service projects for Belmont students. So I was really excited, and I knew I wanted to recreate the context that I'd experienced in Kentucky. But since I had just moved to Nashville, I didn't know where any homeless campsites or tents were. I started to play with this idea of art could be the space in which we become equals and interact with people experiencing homelessness in new contexts. Instead of seeing them in survival mode, we'd create an opportunity for them to share their talents and creativity with the Nashville community. I started by going to Church Street Park across from the downtown public library and building relationships with people who hung out there. You see, Church Street Park is one of the few public spaces where people experiencing homelessness can simply exist without the threat of arrest for trespassing. It was there that I learned how many people on the streets in Nashville loved a local homeless organization called Room in the Inn. When I reached out to Room in the Inn about my art idea, I found out that they had an art studio and music instruments. We hosted our first Poverty in the Arts event, later called Community Art Days, in November 2011 in partnership with Room in the Inn. We had visual art, music, and creative writing, and we invited Belmont students to come in and create with the homeless participants there. We got such a positive response from our Belmont volunteers who said the experience had challenged their stereotypes. But moreover, the Room in the Inn staff said weeks and weeks later, their participants were asking about us and when we were coming back. Because while Room in the Inn has an art studio, it's usually one person coming in and teaching a room full of people experiencing homelessness art. However, we had created an opportunity where dozens of college students were wanting to know how their morning was and what their dreams and goals were through this creative context. It was about getting to know each other, not just meeting a physical need, but deeper spiritual, social, and emotional needs. We came back and continued to host these events at Room in the Inn, adding on Improv Theater in spring 2012. My junior year of college, I ended up interning under the art therapist at Room in the Inn. I began to notice there how talented so many people were and would get questions like, how do I get my art in a coffee shop? Or how can I sell my art on the streets without a cop coming up and stopping me? Because you had to have a street vendor's license. We filed for 501c3 status in fall 2013 while I was still in college, with the goal of providing that needed marketplace, training, and mentorship people on the street seem to lack access to. Here's a video of one of our artists, Gwen, sharing about what it was like creating on the streets and then beginning to sell her artwork with us. She was recruited by one of our first two artists, Katieri, and you'll hear from her later on in a video.
And I'm still shocked because I went from not having anywhere to live to a teacher, and they opened a pre-K and asked me to be a pre-K teacher. And I feel like I've been placed there to be a voice for them. Well, I always drew. That was my way of escaping, and I always wrote down words. But I didn't know that it was worth something. And I was just doing art, just drawing, occupying myself because I'm homeless and I'm sad. I became homeless because I was being abused by a partner, and he didn't value me. I didn't value myself either, so because I stayed. But I always did art with the kids. And this guy would tell me, you acting like some kindergartner, you don't work, that's not real work, And I remember one of our ladies that work here, her name is Katieri. And she walked up to me one day and said, hey, how would you like to sell your art? And I'm like, well, I already do, because I was drawing pictures on the side of the road and people walk up to me and buy them from me. And I said, I already do. And she said, no, I mean professionally. I'm like, huh? She said, your stuff is good. That was the first time somebody actually saw me. Saw me. And she just changed my life. Then I met Nicole and Josh, and they just began to put some more happiness and love and joy in me, and to know that people love me. And that makes me feel so special. Everything I do, there's a story behind it. This is my independence. And when people buy my jewelry, they're saying to me, my art is beautiful. And when I give you a necklace, I'm giving you my beauty. I'm giving you something from out of my heart. And
we love Gwen so much. It just kind of brings tears to my eyes because Gwen, she has such a place in our heart. She's a sweet lady. I hope all of you might be able to meet her someday. And since then, since 2013, what Nicole was referencing, we've launched and currently manage 2 main programs at POVA. The first is our Artist Collective program. And our Artist Collective program equips people impacted by homelessness with artistic resources, training, and a marketplace so that they can gain financial independence and overcome barriers to employment. They can leverage their creative talent to earn meaningful and legal income. So POVA artists earn 60% commission on their original artwork sales, and they earn 25% on reproductions or merchandise. That can include note cards, coasters, prints, anything of that sort with their designs. And then POVA reinvests our earned income, the remaining percentages, back into the organization so that we can continue to provide the space and the resources for our artists, which overall establishes a sustainable social enterprise model. Our artists, while they're at POVA, develop a working portfolio. They have a digital portfolio of images, and they can showcase their works in our gallery. They exhibit their works all over Nashville in places like the Belcourt Theater, Center 615, the Good Cup down in Franklin, and Village Real Estate in East Nashville. Our studio space, which is located in East Nashville, I hope all of you might be able to visit us at some point. We're not too far from downtown. We offer artists impacted by homelessness a safe place to create and store their artwork, as well as peacefully explore the healing nature of art making. Although many of our events have been on hold due to COVID, our gallery allows us to participate in neighborhood art crawls. We schedule art consultations with prospective customers who might want to see a piece before they buy it. And we host other events throughout the year. We also provide high quality art supplies at no cost to our artists. Access to these high quality art supplies is really important because it increases the likelihood that an art piece will sell, and it also allows our artists to charge more for the piece. The art forms that we currently represent at POVA are drawing, painting, photography, jewelry, mixed media, fiber arts, and printmaking. We also offer workshops, which provides our artists access to artistic and entrepreneurship training so that they can gain new skills. They can discover new mediums they might have never tried before. And they can also meet local artists in our community, which can offer great insight as to what it looks like to actually sell your work in the marketplace in Nashville. We offer off-site field trips to museums, galleries, and artist studios, including Make Nashville, the Frist, and Fort Houston. And our second program that I'd like to just highlight really briefly is our SWAP program. Oh, I skipped a moment. We're going to actually first show a little video about our Artist Collective because it's really important for you all to hear what it's like for our artists to be a part of our collective. So check this video out.
I've said this many times before. My favorite part is community. My favorite part are the people, actually.
Good people. Like the sense of community, the sense of family. It's, you know, everybody here cares about each other. Somebody needs something, they can call the other people in this collective and they'll come.
Poverty and the Arts, POVA, is a Nashville-based social enterprise nonprofit, and we work with people impacted by homelessness here in Nashville. One of our biggest goals at Poverty in the Arts, if we do nothing else, is to just make homelessness a little more complicated. If I've learned anything, it's that everyone in our program became homeless for different reasons, and it took different solutions to get them out of homelessness. And so if all we do is, if our customers or supporters or people that stop by our gallery just see homelessness a little more complicated and a little more nuanced, then we've done our job.
Creating art is the nearest thing that I know, the closest that I know to being God. Not saying that I would want to be God, but that is what human beings do, create. And being able to create art. God, in the beginning, God created. And when God created, he made me a creator. And for me to be able to create art is my blessing and my call.
Well, art is not something you need to live. It's not like food, shelter, healthcare, education, but it is important for society, for human beings. It's a purest expression of the divine. Every person has something let in them that is creative, or that has something beyond the very basic needs that are required for life. It is beyond that. So it's extremely valuable. And I love the director very much, because if it wasn't for her, none of us would even be here. So, you know, I mean, I could go to a food bank and, you know, and meet my needs in that way, but the emotional and spiritual aspect of being creative, that's the ultimate experience. That's the reason I'm here.
What would you tell someone who's struggling?
It's not your fault.
I think people need to get over their preconceived notions of what, you know, homeless people are. Some of us had a series of circumstances that we had no control over that put us in that situation. And we're willing to fight to get ourselves back. We're not looking for handouts, we're looking for a hand up. We want to reestablish ourselves and get ourselves back on our feet.
Don't give up, and don't let nobody take your joy. I know it's not easy. Like I tell everybody, I may be down, but I'm not out. Yes.
Just please don't pass us off. Don't not think about us. Ask yourselves what you can do, what you can contribute to the program, because you can't fully understand the benefit and what you can do to help. You know, just donations, art supplies, anything, your time, whatever, you know, comes from you, you can give. Just be involved, and you can see the healing, you know, people, and that is tremendous. That is very tremendous.
So before we move on, I will mention that all of the artists featured in that video will be represented at Artclectic. They'll all have artwork being shown, so I do hope you'll all be able to stop by and see their work. Many of them will also be there in person for you to meet as well. The second program that we wanted to highlight is our Shared Walls art program. for short, we call it SWAP, and it was created in partnership with another local nonprofit called Urban Housing Solutions. It's driven by our mission that we want to make the arts accessible for everyone, whether you're a family moving into your new home or you're heading into your office each day for work. SWAP provides an original art piece by a POVA artist to both a sponsor and folks who are moving into affordable housing with low income. Both the sponsor and the people moving into affordable housing are able to select an art piece from our collection that suits their individual styles. When a sponsor chooses SWAP, they provide income, resources, and confidence to our artists impacted by homelessness in our Artist Collective program. We want to give a special shout out to some of our first SWAP sponsors in 2019. Pinnacle Bank and Dabble Studio were some of our first sponsors to participate in SWAP. We're actually still recruiting more sponsors, and that sponsors can be a business, a class, or families who all come together for this common mission. We've commonly been asked how we've adapted to COVID-19. What has our program looked like during the pandemic? So we thought we would share really briefly some of the ways that we've adapted. In response to the COVID-19 closures and a lot of pre-existing barriers to engagement for our artists, those could have been health conditions and a lot of varying physical ability levels. We made a lot of changes in order to improve our Artist Collective accessibility. A few of those ways that we adapted included, we created new ways for our artists to engage with our program. So one example was that previously we only had paper forms for them to complete in person. So we adapted that and made digital forms like Google Forms, as an example, that they could complete at home. A common misconception might be that a lot of our artists experiencing homelessness or impacted by homelessness don't have a phone or they don't have a computer, but many of them do, which has really helped with the sustainability of our program. And they've been able to complete those digital forms at home. We've also created art supply care packages, which were delivered by volunteer drivers, which was a new volunteer position during the pandemic. Some of our generous volunteers offered up their time to drop off supplies and care packages at our artists' homes. We also created new ways for potential customers all around the world to interact and purchase with our artwork. We created a virtual reality experience at our art gallery. So you could click through our gallery and virtually stand in front of an art piece and experience it as best as possible from a screen. Of course, in person is always better, but we tried to create as many virtual events as possible. We also received multiple donated laptops from Dell Technologies, which have really just been a game changer for us as far as offering virtual learning and engagement opportunities for our artists. And finally, we started coordinating studio appointments on an individual basis with our artists to minimize capacity and make sure that we're meeting the needs of artists on an independent and individual level.
And I wanted to share two major artist success stories from the past couple of years with everyone. A.M. Hassan on the left was featured on the Nashville sign that you can see right here in downtown Nashville. And that's actually located at the 13-lane intersection of Broadway, Weston, and 16th Avenue. So it was an incredible location to have her artwork featured. And she was able to do that as part of her participation in the Arts and Business Council's Periscope program in 2019. And we were actually able to sponsor her to participate and attend that. And so one of the really cool opportunities that we can provide our artists is sponsorships and fiscal sponsorships to attend things out in the community that we're not able to offer, but we can provide them the financial piece to get educated there. When Katieri, the artist on the right, began selling at POVA in 2014, she was sleeping in a tent and relying on a cane and wheelchair to get around. She had no extra income for luxuries like bus fare. And in 2015, Katieri was fortunate to receive much needed knee surgery, as well as finally transition into Section 8 housing with the help of local nonprofit Open Table Nashville. Over the last 6 years, Katieri has perfected her artistic craft, becoming a top seller year after year. However, her biggest limitation to success and participation continued to be transportation. After WeGo's budget cuts, routes were reduced and buses would regularly be packed or broken down. While the knee surgery improved her mobility, Katieri still endured pain, especially when waiting for hours at bus stops without shelters or benches. After saving portions of her artwork sales income, as well as saving her stimulus check last summer, Katieri was finally able to purchase her own vehicle in August 2020, and you can see her standing in front of it right here. And she is now accessing a newfound freedom like never before. Katieri has been able to utilize her van to not only transport her own artwork, but as well as increase her transportation by getting to doctors, or her independence by getting to doctor's appointments and grocery stores. We are so proud of Katieri and thankful for everyone in our community who has invested in her artistic and personal life, whether through purchasing art, donating supplies, or volunteering time. It's our community that was really able to help make this happen for Katieri. So it's just been really exciting to journey beside her as she went from living in a tent to getting housing to buying her own vehicle.
So in addition to in-person exhibitions, our artists can access our online marketplace, marketing platforms, and a lot of additional creative income opportunities. And you can see those listed here. We really work hard to diversify the ways that our artists are earning income. And so you can see here that we, of course, have our original artwork sales. Our artists receive 60% of that income. The additional 40%, or as we go through this list, any additional income that POVA receives is funneled back into our organization to continue offering our studio space, supplies, and resources. You can also see reproduction sales here. Our artists receive 25% of those earnings. Those can include note cards, I believe I mentioned previously, but note cards, coasters, prints of their original artworks. We also recently have had some really exciting opportunities with one-time use copyright licenses with local musicians and artists wanting to use our artists' artwork on album covers, for example, and our artists in those opportunities receive 75%. You can also see here that we have some teaching artist opportunities and mural artist opportunities. And we are continuing to work just to increase and diversify their income opportunities. So some of the more exciting logistics are, since 2014, we've served around 100 artists impacted by homelessness. Some of them, like Katieri, are still around to this day, and some have moved on to different opportunities. We have paid out about $54,000 to over 50 unique artists. And you can see here below a few more statistics. Our total art revenue to date has been over $96,000. And you can see a breakdown here of where that art revenue was generated through original art sales, reproductions, and again, other artistic forms like performing, teaching, and licensing. We've subsidized thousands of dollars in jury and vendor booth fees. We've facilitated dozens of artistic and business workshops, again, which benefit our artists in a number of ways in their entrepreneurship efforts. And we've coordinated hundreds of exhibition opportunities. And one of the most important and exciting things that we've seen beyond income is just journeying with our artists as they transition into housing and maintaining employment.
According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the intersection between homelessness and unemployment or underemployment is multifaceted and multidirectional. Individuals may fall into homelessness as a result of job loss, or conversely, may lose their job due to difficulties experienced as a result of the onset of homelessness. Further, substantial systematic, programmatic, and personal barriers exist for people experiencing homelessness to re-enter the job market. Over the last 3 decades, important economic and social policy shifts have occurred, resulting in astronomical growth of working age adults among the homeless and those at risk of homelessness. So this is why one of our biggest goals with the Artist Collective program is to provide individuals the opportunity to generate their own income as well as gain entrepreneurial and job skills. However, one thing we've continued to learn over the years is how much our program isn't just about earning income. Art gives our artists confidence and a voice. For some of them in a while, and for some of them for the first time ever, they are able to re-envision themselves as artists instead of just homeless. Our artists are able to reclaim their voice and share new stories about themselves and their experiences through their art. They have new opportunities to create and interact with our community. Instead of simply feeling like they're dependent on everyone, they begin to recognize the creative skills they already possess and can leverage to earn their own income. The community then becomes their customers, followers, audience, and friends. Here's a video of one of our artists, Beth, who joined our Artist Collective in February 2016.
It's sacred. It's a really sacred space here. It's the only place where when we get together, we can talk about both our experiences, homeless and art. I was in a domestic violence shelter in Massachusetts, and I walked from Massachusetts. It took me about 2.5 months. It was just awful all the way around. When I got to Nashville, I was kind of on the streets for like 2 months, but pretty shortly I got into Green Street. So I spent, I think, October through February in a tent, which was not easy. Then I got into a microhome, tiny house, and I was there until I think somewhere in the summertime, and then I met some friends through church. Like it was sort of like church friends and art friends, church friends and art friends, until I started working, and then I started renting. But it's really hard for me to like really understand myself, like what happened. So it's a very confusing time, and you lose track of being human. I have lost track of being female. It's hard to talk to outsiders about that experience. So within the community here, to bring humanity and character to people who otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity. A huge part of the process was I had been like felt and been so objectified in my life that a lot of what, like speaking up about it wasn't working because it wasn't coming from anywhere because I was so objectified. So like when I was making art, it made me see like my mind on canvas and expressing myself in a way that it's like no, they are wrong about this, that, and the other. Like I'm actually a person, and I'm like, yeah. And it made me feel like I'm doing something that I can then look at instead of feeling like objectified or like, yeah. I think in some other artistic environments, schools or other places, it can get really competitive or catty, but here it's really, really supportive. People are very encouraging, and it's awesome. It's sacred.
So the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 6 and 7 years is that through relationships, we begin to realize how much more complex the stereotypical narratives are, as well as how policy impacts people and creates barriers that we don't have and recognize. And this extends far beyond homelessness. And this is why I found that it's so important to really be intentional about diversifying your community and your group, and to build relationships with people that are different from you. Because so many people have different barriers that we just don't see because we don't have them. Here is one of my favorite quotes by Oakland-based artist and activist Fabiana Rodriguez. It says, because when we hear the stories, the experiences, and the perspectives of people at the margins of society, our world becomes more inclusive, more open, and more loving. We will hear stories that humanize, that complicate ingrained biases, and that ultimately inspire you to advocate for the humanity of a person who may be very different from you. Here is a video of one of our first two artists who joined, Katieri, and the other artist was her husband, Sam, and they joined in May 2014. And in the holiday season of 2019, Soundstripe actually created this little documentary video of Katieri, and we're going to share that with you today so she can share about her experiences live.
When you're homeless, you have to be creative to survive what you're going through. And I didn't realize that there was going to be an organization that would help the homeless person be able to exercise their craft. And so POVA gave me hope. It gave me the opportunity to be who I am. Welcome to my apartment. This is my living room. If you notice, I'm surrounded by some of my art. And the most interesting part of where I live is this way. This is where it all happens. Was originally my bedroom, but obviously I needed a studio to work in, so I moved everything out, brought all of my art supplies, and obviously I'm very serious about what I do, and I'm very passionate about my art and creating. I remember as a small child coloring with my mom. She was the inspiration. You know, she was the one that fostered basically who I am as an artist today. I always had a job. I always worked since I was 17 years old. Here in the United States, too many people are living one paycheck away from being homeless. I had everything. I had a good life. I had my family, and all of it was gone, totally just eradicated. You know, when you're homeless, other people look at you. Either they look at you as you're not there, they don't want to see, or they have a negative response as to you being a human being. This isn't who I am. This doesn't speak as to who I am. I'm an artist. I'm not a throwaway person. To me, POVA was like I was in a little boat with no oars in the middle of a big ocean, and there were holes in my boat and I was sinking. POVA was the lifeline that got me out of that situation.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned about homelessness is how complicated it is. Every single one of our artists became homeless for different reasons, and it took different solutions to get them out of homelessness. And so our goal is not only to provide an outlet and marketplace for our homeless artists, but also for the community to finally get to interact with people that they're not used to. And our hope is that that leads people to advocate for the humanity of someone that may be very different from.
POVA gives the creative person the opportunity, the ability, the incentive, the encouragement to bring that out. You don't have to be on survival mode 24/7 because you have a way of expressing your humanity through a visual art aspect. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want to be in POVA?
I want to add to the end of that video, since that was made almost 2 years ago, Katieri is catching the eyes of organizations and customers all over the country. At this point, we have people as far as California contacting us about her artwork. So I will say, if you want to get in on purchasing her artwork, now is the time, because she's becoming a really in-demand artist, which we're very, very proud of. The next thing we want to talk about are just ways to get involved and stay connected. Whether you're a high school student or a parent watching this slideshow or a presentation, there's a number of ways that you can get involved at POVA. Despite the great fallout of 2021 with Instagram and Facebook recently, with everything shutting down, despite that, we're still going to keep trying to grow our following. So please do follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can see our handles there. You can also donate supplies. We have an Amazon wish list, and I want to just give a quick thank you so much. A few of you out there have already been purchasing from our Amazon wish list and have been sent, those donations have been sent to POVA, and those have just been really exciting surprises to receive on our front porch. So we really appreciate that. We've received paint supplies already and a couple of like cleaning supplies. So whoever those anonymous donors were out there, we just really appreciate you. Thank you so much. You can also see our artwork in person. We have, again, our artwork displayed around Nashville, and you can see all of our locations at povanashville.org/view-art. You can see all of our locations there. With the holidays coming up, keep us in mind for your holiday cards. You can buy and send POVA note cards or artwork as gifts. You can also organize a group of people, whether that's classmates, friends in a church small group, or maybe at your business. You can all become swap sponsors together. Again, that provides a piece of artwork for your place of business or your home, and also provides a piece of artwork for a family moving into affordable housing. And lastly, you can browse our online collection of artwork at povanashville.org if you're just looking for a piece to enjoy for yourself. So a couple of things as we wrap up, what's next for POVA? One of the biggest things that we want to share with you is that we're actually going through a rebrand right now. Our organization for many years has been considering changing our organization name. So Nicole at the beginning of the presentation shared that Poverty in the Arts was a project that began at Belmont University. And we are going through a very intentional process of changing our name so that we more adequately represent the multi-talented artists that we have. And so we're actually going to be changing the name of our organization and the overall brand and just outward facing communications that we have. We're really excited to share that with you. It's been almost a 2-year process at this point. And so we're really hoping by the holidays, we're gonna keep hoping for that, that we're actually going to be presenting to you a whole new name for Poverty in the Arts. We'd be excited to share with you some of the reasoning behind that. It's from logistics to what our name communicates, but we're really excited to just completely rebrand and offer a more professional and well-rounded brand to the community so that we can kind of be a front runner with some of those big names that you see out there in the social enterprise world. So that's coming soon, so stay tuned. Also this holiday season, please do keep in mind that we have holiday cards, gifts that include jewelry, photography, and original art, and gift cards. So as you start thinking about your holiday shopping, please do keep us in mind. If you'd like to learn more about our rebrand as well as holiday shopping opportunities, please do sign up for our newsletter. You can find that at the bottom of our webpage at povanashville.org. You can sign up to be a subscriber to our newsletter, where we send out regular reminders weekly to monthly about how to access all of that exciting information. So next, what we thought we would do is do a little mock frequently asked questions section. So these are questions that were sent in from you all, and we're going to kind of, I'm going to mock interview Nicole so that she can answer some of your questions. So Nicole, if you're ready, I'm going to ask you the first question. How do our artists find out about POVA and join our organization?
So the biggest way our artists find out about us is through word of mouth. That might be through one of our artists, and that also might be through a community member. We've had times where the press will run a story on us in the news or the newspaper, and I'll have someone message me or email me saying, I see the same homeless artist drawing on the street every day. How do I get them connected with you? I just learned about you. I had no idea you existed. So again, if you know anyone in your life who fits that criteria of housing insecurity and a super talented artist or just wants to grow more, please connect them to us because it really is a community effort. Aside from word of mouth, it is really important for us to have built relationships with social service organizations. So Room in the Inn, The Contributor, Park Center, Open Table, the Rescue Mission. These are all really important relationships to build because when they have artists or people who are looking for a creative outlet come through their program, they're a trusted individual that can refer that person to us as that go-between. And likewise, our clients have so many needs beyond what we can offer because they are experiencing homelessness and in poverty. And so having established that relationship with a social service partner allows us to refer the artists to the people who get funding to provide that service. And we're able to really focus and commit to our artistic programming and what we're doing here. I will also say that we have an artist application for any artist that wants to join. Artists can join anytime throughout the year. So anytime you find out about us, you fill out the artist application. After that point, they meet with our artist manager, as well as sometimes Emily, when they get ready to bring in their portfolio, just to evaluate if they've been creating artwork. And our team assesses that and assesses their fit for the program and their kind of goals and things like that. And then after that, they sign a community agreement as well as an art sales contract. And that sales contract kind of outlines the fact that they're a 1099 contractor. It outlines intellectual property rights, their commission structure, and all of those types of things. And so there's some education around that, but we, try to make it really transparent and clear for all of our artists who are joining our program and maybe doing this for the very first time.
Awesome. All right, next question. Are there any areas that you want to expand your organization's offerings in the future?
Yeah, so hopefully in the next year or two, one of our goals is to launch a community art program. And so it's kind of, as Emily shared, we have our Artist Collective program and our Shared Walls Art program. But this community art program is kind of going to harken back to those original Poverty in the Arts events. And the goal right now, we haven't had the capacity because we've been really focusing on the artists that we already work with and helping them sell art. But we recognize how important just creating art is, and not everyone wants to sell art or make money from their art, but just having access to a safe place to create and the supplies to make things with is really valuable. And so this community art program will be our opportunity to, again, partner with social service organizations who may already be having a homeless outreach day or passing out some type of thing already. And we will hopefully host different pop-up art events where the goal is really to just help provide increased access to art making for anyone who's homeless in Nashville and anyone on the streets. And so we hope to launch that in the next couple of years, but the rebrand has taken longer than we've liked. And so hopefully after we've nailed down all of those pieces, that is next for us.
Awesome. Okay, this is another really, really common question that we get at POVA. Does POVA have any art therapists who work with the Artist Collective?
So we don't currently have any art therapists or therapists on staff. We recognize that is a really important piece. A lot of our artists have mental illnesses and to various degrees. And so having, and as well as just trauma experiences. And so we currently don't have an art therapist. We recognize that art in and of itself kind of has the power to heal, as we've heard over and over from our artists, just that access piece. And Emily, as she shared, has a master's in art therapy. And so she's able to kind of provide that lens and perspective. But right now we've just been really focusing on getting the income streams and the Artist Collective model really sustainable so that our artists can be successful and grow to independence and eventually graduate. We're building a graduation model and program right now as well for our artists to learn how to do some of the administrative work that we're doing for them now. How can we give them their tools to do that so they can create and market and sell on their own eventually one day. And so it is on our radar for the future. But currently right now, we do not have any art therapists or therapists on staff.
And I will say, I know I'm supposed to be the interviewer during this section, but I want to also mention, because it's another common question that we get, is if we work with kids or not. And a lot of the answers would be similar, just in case anyone out there is wondering whether or not we work with kids. And right now, we support a lot of parents who are experiencing homelessness, but at this time, we don't work directly with children. However, we do have an upcoming event this weekend at the Tennessee Kids Craft Tent, where we support our artist Katieri, who will be teaching kids crafts. So we hope in the future maybe to wrap in kids services in a different way, but at this time we just work with adults who are experiencing or have been impacted by homelessness. So okay, back to me being the interviewer. Last question is, Nicole, are there any opportunities or desire to collaborate with similar organizations such as Open Table and Nashville Food Project?
Yeah, so these are actually two big partners of ours, especially Open Table. Like I've mentioned, Open Table is the organization that helps Katieri get housing. They do a lot of advocacy and direct service work here in Nashville, which is so vital. And every year they host an annual homeless memorial every December, which honors all of the people who died while experiencing homelessness that year. And every year our artists are invited to create art and to bring art for their altar that they have set up. And so that's a really meaningful way in which we're able to partner. And then Open Table Nashville also has a Where to Turn in Nashville resource guide for people on the streets. And it's broken up into housing, food, law, pets, all kinds of different resources. And so when it first launched, we were under employment, which was really awesome. But in 2018, I think it was, we actually helped them build an art section. So we realized that, we're not even we're the only one in Nashville specifically providing that marketplace and doing what we're doing. We're not the only arts organization in Nashville that serves that population specifically. Healing Arts Project Incorporated works with people coming out of drug addictions and recovery. And so there are all kinds of different organizations. And so we helped them create an art section in that so that people on the streets could access all kinds of different art opportunities. And then the Nashville Food Project in 2019, they actually hosted an exhibition for us. And so we put up artwork in their space, and they've also partnered with us by buying holiday cards from some of our artists who did a vegetable kind of art piece Christmas card. And so it's been really cool to find the ways in which other nonprofits in Nashville kind of are passionate and excited about our mission and our artists, and we're able to find ways to collaborate and work together. So
awesome. Thank you so much. So I will just wrap up our presentation with offering that if you have any additional questions, we're happy to answer them for you. The easiest way to reach us would be creative@povertyandthearts.org. Anyone at Artclectic can connect you to us, but we're more than happy to answer additional questions that you may have. Again, thank you so much for having Poverty and the Arts, or POVA, as a part of your event this year. We really appreciate your support, again, through donations, coming to meet our artists at Artclectic in a couple of weeks, and just the various other forms of support. So again, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
thank you.